From the heart of the land of the Guardians, where the dog pound roars, the Cavs soar, and heartbreak is just part of the game, this is 3 and Out, Cleveland Sports Talk. With Jason, Drew, and Michael, 3 diehard fans breaking down the highs, the lows, and everything in between. No fluff, no filters, just Cleveland sports the way it's meant to be. Now let's get into it. Here's your hosts, Michael, Jason, and Drew.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is 3 and Out, operating once again as Second and Long. This is Drew, here again with Jason, here to talk about the past week in Cleveland sports, mainly Browns, but we'll touch on some Guardians as well as Buckeyes and some other things. But before we get started, Jason, anything this week, anything exciting, anything new, out of the ordinary?
I'd be remiss if I didn't, pay a little respect to our brother in Christ, Charlie Kirk. Horrible tragedy in Utah this week. Kind of puts things into perspective. So our prayers are with Erica and the kids. And regarding Cleveland sports or Ohio sports in general, it was up and down. I mean, we had it's always happy on Saturday, sad on Sunday. Ohio State took care of business with Ohio University. I don't think the win was as convincing as it should have been, but and then Sunday the Browns didn't do anywhere close to what I thought they should have done.
Did they play?
So they did. Well, they were there. I'm not sure playing is what you could.
Are we sure they were there?
Well, the statistics say they were there.
Somebody was there.
Somebody
in a Browns
was there.
uniform.
Yes.
May not have been the Browns.
Yes, it was. But that was not the kind of performance that we were expecting.
No.
Again, other shades of good news are that the Guardians are on a 9 out of 10?
9 out of 10.
9 out of the last 10 and 2 games or 2.5 games out of the wild card. So
they put themselves at least back in the conversation for postseason play. So, that's at least exciting from that perspective.
Show me another team that does this much with this little. I mean, they literally are a one-man team.
Yeah, sorry, I had to fix that.
So Jose and then a bunch of also-rans, So, but they're in it.
I think we could name a couple, but I don't know that anybody outside of Cleveland could name anybody other than Jose.
Maybe Stephen Kwan.
Maybe Kwan. Maybe Kwan. And Clase.
But he's not.
Well,
he's not yet.
It's because of what he did, not because of. Yeah, he's not playing for us. So, well, let's get started. Obviously, like you said, it's in terms of newsworthy stuff outside of sports, a little somber when it comes to what happened in Utah last week. Regardless of your feelings about him as a person, it's a tragedy, and it's a, hopefully something this country can learn from, grow from, just in terms of coming together as a people. But sports go on, sports still happen, so that's why we're here to talk about. And like you said, it was not pretty. What was your prediction? Your score prediction? Yours was closer than mine. I remember that.
I had the Browns winning.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I was way wrong in that regard.
What was Mike's?
I think I had the Browns. The Browns winning 24-13.
To get through all my texts during the game that were ranting and raving.
I was not so far off on the score, but I think I had it flip flopped.
I know mine. I can't remember Mike's, but mine was 31-13 lose. I was at least in the ballpark.
Oh yeah.
I was at least in the ballpark, but the game itself overall was beyond ugly, with a few bright spots. Some things at least hopefully to look forward to long term, but in the short term, the game itself was ugly, was not fun to watch, and I'm glad I was sitting at a soccer game watching my son win his game, so at least it wasn't all torture for me.
And I am glad I was at my softball game winning both games of the doubleheader as opposed to and I actually hit the ball.
Yeah?
I was on base multiple times.
Past the pitcher?
Yes.
Now, are you second on the Guardians in hits this year?
No.
Close.
Could be.
Close.
potentially. No, but I was there as opposed to watching the Browns and live anyway. I was certainly engaged, but it was what I'm noticing is that this team can't afford for one of the phases to go bankrupt.
No, and unfortunately, we're 1 out of 3 that's actually doing anything positive.
Right. So and I think there was multiple facets of the game that we could look to that were inadequate. Obviously when you lose 41-17 and really that last touchdown was kind of a trash.
Yeah.
No offense to
Dylan
Gabriel, but it was the game was out of hand by that point. But the special teams, which we it's funny. I think early in the game you'd text in our group text that our punter's our best player. And he's multiple punts. Pinning them deep, and we were winning. For the most part, we were winning the field position. Yeah, and then
then
Andre Carter got hurt. DeAndre Carter, and then the blocked punt, and he came up a little limp after that too.
Yeah, he got. Well, you saw the defender rolled up on his foot.
Yeah, so he came out and continued to play, but special teams overall was not. Again, this team as it's structured and built right now, can't afford to be missing any of the cylinders for us to be competitive. You look at the Cincinnati game, and they obviously are a team that can be missing something and still be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll find out how long that is now that Joe Burrow's out for a few months.
Browning led him on a 15 play drive.
Yeah,
to win.
Yeah. Here's
what's funny. So I segue away to that game, but I was watching on my phone the Browns game. The Browns game ended, and the stream switched over to the Bengals, and they were on the goal line, and the quarterback didn't know at the time. Got the ball and jumped up over the pile and got the touchdown. And in my brain, I'm going, first of all, that was really athletic for Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And second, I'm like, why on earth would they allow their franchise QB to make that play?
Right.
Not realizing it wasn't Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And didn't find that out till later.
And again, I this isn't a Cincinnati show, but they're comparing Joe Burrow right now to the Andrew Luck, where Indianapolis didn't protect Andrew Luck, and
injuries.
Availability is your most significant ability. And
sometimes your best ability is availability.
Yes, and Joe Burrow missed significant time over the past several seasons, and this season's going to be no different. So I think toe surgery, some kind of foot surgery he's going to have. He's going to be out 3 to 4 months.
15?
Yeah.
I heard week 15 at the earliest is what I heard.
Yeah. And if, let's be honest, they're out of the hunt. I think it's they're moving on to 2026.
You'll see them next year.
Yeah. So no risk, no sense if they're in the hunt, they got.
Oh yeah, they're going to bring them back 100%.
Yeah. But JJ McCarthy, another quarterback injury, and it's this certainly isn't me, advocating or cheering for injuries, but it's just funny how, we were sitting there not too many weeks ago with 5 quarterbacks on our roster, and I said, somebody's going to need, it would be okay if we did go into the season with 4 active quarterbacks on our roster, when we had Snoop, still with us.
Well, the problem is you had 4 active quarterbacks that combined, I'm not sure, equaled 1 legitimate quarterback.
Well, and there is a statistical argument for that, and while our offense has been lackluster at producing points, 16 week 1, 17 week 2, the schedule is brutal. We all knew the first 5-6 games were going to be brutal. Mm-hmm. But Flacco is sitting there right now in the top 10 in passing yards. Let's be specific. He's had the turnovers. But yes, he is old. Yes, as we move to the first slide, let me get there with you. Joe Flacco is old, and we knew going into this that I was advocating for Flacco to be the quarterback this year. More, not that I thought he was the answer, but more for his steady leadership and professionalism, and the fact that even at 40, the guy can sling the ball. And I was under the impression early that our offensive line was going to be what it should have been in 2023. Healthy and a top 5 offensive line. Batonio, Teller, Conklin, Posick, all these guys that are Pro Bowl caliber. At the time we had Jed Wills. We were still figuring out whether he was the guy or not.
He was so good that he's now retired.
Yes.
I mean, way off topic, but again, this is going to go to my rant later on. So
yeah.
But the fact that we drafted him 10th, and after his initial contract, he's not even worthy of a contract to be a backup here or anywhere else.
Yeah, that's telling.
And we still have that regime picking our players. Anyway.
Yeah. But I digress. Yes.
Yeah. Digress away from my rant.
No, it's just, it's frustrating. I think we're all frustrated. It's week 2, or the end of week 2 here as we sit here on a Monday evening. But, we weren't anticipating. Now, we should be 1-1, but we're not. We're 0-2. We dropped week 1 due to a myriad of Brownsy events. I don't think even in my delusional state as an optimistic Browns fan, I was hoping they'd win. But more than that, I was hoping that they'd be competitive. I saw that line initially earlier in the week. It was 12.5 points, and I'm thinking to myself, they're going to keep it close. Defense is going to keep it close. But we even had some defensive letdown. Now
I would argue differently, but
I think
okay.
the interception put us in a bad spot. The blocked punt put us in a bad spot. The punt return put us in a bad spot. So, defense was short fielded, but
fumble return.
Giving up scores. I think Jackson had 4 touchdown passes.
Three,
yardage
4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah,
or whatever.
4. But anyway, it's we were still giving up touchdowns when we expected our defense to be holding. Now, is that too much pressure on the defense? I don't think so. And from listening to Miles, press conference, I think he expects more. The defense was put in bad spots, but that's what they do. We have a top defense. I think yardage per game right now, we are the number 1 defense in the league. Yes, we're 0-2. Can't forget that.
Think about this.
Go ahead.
Right. I know we're on offense, so we'll come back to defense. But our defense, right? I heard a stat today. Now I'm trying to remember the stat. And it's going to sound bad, but because of the situation they were put in, they gave up a point every between 5 and 6 yards of offense. We surrendered a point.
Yeah. Well, we gave up
240 yards of offense and
41 points.
41 points.
Yeah. So it's
that's our defense wasn't bad, and I would actually argue with you on that, and I will. But let's talk offense first, because I want to get to the back. I want to get through this struggle of offense.
Yes. Okay. Well, all right.
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco, old. I
don't know. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but he to me is I was probably the biggest advocate for Joe Flacco, and he does not throw the same ball he threw 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, I also would argue that I think this was supposed to be the year that Kevin Stefanski took back the offense, was running his stuff. He was like, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I remember when Joe Flacco was here again, we were having plays where Jerome Ford was coming out of the backfield wide open, and Elijah Moore was wide open in the middle of the field, and Amari Cooper wide open or one-on-one. And now I feel like every time Joe drops back, every throw has to thread the needle. Now, 2 years ago, he was making some of those, through two guys to Amari Cooper, through two guys to David Njoku, where you watch the replay and there's a hand here and a hand here and the ball's going right there.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not threading the needle, but nobody's open either.
Mm-hmm.
Like yesterday, and if you had the stats in front of you,
Yep,
but
I do.
I believe we had how many total completions did we have? There was like maybe 30,
Let me tell you,
31.
including the 3 from Dylan
Yeah.
Gabriel.
Yep.
Hang on a minute.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, we had 28 completions. We were 28 for 48 as a.
And so probably 25 of those, 24 of those went to tight ends and running backs. Because what did Judy have? 1 or 2, and so did Tillman?
Judy had four catches.
Okay, he had 4.
Cedric Tillman 2 catches. Isaiah Bond and Jamari Thrash each had a catch. When
Okay,
you
so
look
20,
at
so 20 of the 28.
yeah, and
Or
that
the
was
tight
going to be
ends.
one of my topics was we had griped in the past that Stefanski's style of offense was certainly not wide receiver friendly, and I still stand by that. I don't think it's
agree.
wide receiver friendly. But Judy had 8 targets. Cedric Tillman had 7 targets. 3 targets for Isaiah Bond. So what's that? 15, 18, 19 targets. 19 out of 48
So less than half.
went to our wide receivers. Now, and again.
So let me ask you, how many went to running backs? Probably a dozen? 12?
So Jerome Ford had 6 targets. Dylan Sampson 3. Judkins 3.
Yeah, so 12. So you had 3 running backs get 12 targets and 5 wide receivers get 19?
Yes.
And I bet if you went back to last week, it's even more skewed towards
4
tight
wide
ends and running
receivers.
back.
4 wide receivers.
4.
And Harold Fannin is kind of a, he's a hybrid.
He's a tight end, though.
But he's a tight end
He's a tight
by
end.
name, and they had 10. He and Njoku each had 5 targets
Right.
each.
Which I'm not opposed to it, but where I'm going with that is he's either not throwing wide receivers open or we're not scheming them open. And 2 years ago when we had Joe Flacco, guys were open.
Yeah.
Because we talked about before that, we're like, why are we, when you watch other teams, why are their receivers always open?
Yeah.
And why are ours never open?
Yeah.
And then Joe Flacco comes and all of a sudden receivers are open.
Yeah.
And, again, was he reading the right play and finding the open guy? Was Stefanski opening the playbook more that allowed guys to do things because he had a veteran quarterback?
Yeah.
And what has changed this year? Because, again, we had Amari Cooper 2 years ago.
Sure.
But Jerry Jeudy's just as good a route runner with more speed. So
But-
if we could run Amari Cooper open, we should be able to run Jerry Jeudy
Right.
open.
Well,
Now, whether or not he catches it, that's a different story.
that's what I was going to say too. I think there's been some drops, and last week again. I don't want to revisit Cincinnati, but some of those crucial drops, 3rd and 4th
Mhm.
down drops that killed drives, and obviously the missed field goals were a result. But
Yeah.
those balls got to be caught. And I
No,
can
100%.
remember, I was
100%.
watching, I think, a highlight reel of 2023 and that run we had, that 5-week run. And some of those catches, to your point, you threading the needle.
Mhm.
They weren't all wide open. Now there was a lot of
No.
catches wide open, but some of those toe taps and down the sideline.
Oh, yeah.
Amari Cooper,
Making the play.
he made the play, and I think the expectations need to be that Jerry Jeudy, becomes that wide receiver 1. And I think to your point in the on the slide, he is a wide receiver 2 masquerading as a wide receiver 1
Because
right
we
now.
don't have a wide receiver
Right.
one.
Nobody has stepped up.
Yeah.
Now, could it be Cedric Tillman? Could it be one of these young guys? Or could Judy just start playing like he's capable?
But again, was it Or was that last year? Because Tillman was still here 2 years ago
Yes,
as our, Elijah was our slot. Tillman had good games with Flacco.
he did. A few.
There's something not the same. Now, down on my third point, could that be the issue? And I haven't seen or looked up Flacco's time to throw.
Yeah.
If he's having enough time for plays to develop, for guys to get open, for guys to run the route. Because the one thing for sure is he's not rolling out. I mean, you saw his one interception, but that was on a rollout,
Yeah.
and he threw a Deshaun Watson ball.
Yeah. No, it was bad. It was bad.
Um,
And yes, the offensive line's old, but our 2023 Joe Flacco offensive line was a patchwork quilt of bad that
But you
made
still
it
had
good.
You still had Teller and Batonio.
But I can't even remember who was it. Hudson was one tackle, and
Yeah.
I can't remember who the other tackle was. He played for Miami. I can't remember his name right now. But neither one of them are starting NFL tackles.
No,
And
no,
so
but
we made the best with not great in 2023. So the offensive line, while yes, it's bad right now, it's for me, it's not a legitimate excuse. Maybe Joe Flacco isn't what he was, but statistically speaking, he's still slinging the rock. Now could it be play calling? Yeah, there's probably something to be said. There's a myriad of things on why we're not putting points on the board, and I'm not comparing us to Buffalo by any stretch, but the Ravens defense is not what we are used to seeing as the Ravens defense.
No,
So if
they're
there was
not.
a year we could have hung points on them,
this year.
it could have been this year.
100%.
So our offense is sputtering, and maybe it's early. There was other things, special teams. There's all kinds of things we can blame it on, but we need to expect. I don't want to go through another 17 games where our offense is putting up under 17 points.
I think it's 10. Well, 8 straight losses, but like 9 games in a row. I think that we've scored under 20.
Yeah, it's
becoming a trend.
Yes, yeah,
And again, I go back to Stefanski. I'm sorry, in these situations, it's always going to go back to coaching, where his skill set coming in was supposed to be this QB whisperer. Name me one QB that we've had, and we've had a lot of them since he's been here.
and lots of whispers.
Yeah, name me one QB that he has made better while that QB's been here.
Can you pick it?
Pulled his hammy. He made him better by shipping him to a different team.
Yeah.
Like I don't see it, and I know I'm not a Stefanski fan, but this is supposed to be his offense with his guys, with his OC, with the QB that he hand drafted. I know he's not playing, except for we'll talk about that in a little bit, but they brought Flacco back. Like there's no more excuses. We're not having to trot $70 million. Deshaun Watson out there on one leg and one shoulder. We're not having to throw out DTR and Phillip Walker and all these other guys that aren't even NFL quarterbacks, much
PJ
less
Walker. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah. We've had some doozies, but he's got. No, I say what he wants, but obviously, if he could have, Justin Herbert, he would probably take Justin Herbert. But he's got what he wants. And we're as ineffective as we were last year with lesser QB play. And I argued going into the year, I thought our offense had a chance to be better. Now, are the lone bright spot, and we'll talk in more about it in our rookie report, I thought Quinshon Judkins was pretty darn good for a guy having one practice. I like the way he ran. I like he just hit holes and he went. He, a couple times he broke tackles and kept his feet moving, caught some stuff out of the backfield. Like he showed why we drafted him. I told you before we started, I thought he had a better game, a more complete game as a running back after one real pro practice and preparation than Jerome Ford's had in 4 years as an NFL running back. And so I think he's better than what we had 2 years ago and last year. I think we got Jerry Jeudy. Theoretically, with a year under his belt, should be better. We've got Cedric Tillman, additional year. He should be better. Harold Fannin is better than any backup. Is better than Harrison Bryant and any other backup tight end we've had. Like, we don't have the bona fide slot receiver like we had in Elijah Moore. But overall, I think we've got as much, if not more, skill. You know, we didn't have a Dylan Sampson last year, the year before. Why can this offense not produce points? Because you see the last point there, again, and that's why I go back to the offense. I think the offensive line is an issue. Now, I'm going to go backwards to go forward. If you look at, and I haven't seen the PFF grades, they don't come out, I don't think, till tomorrow, for line blocking.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 of our 5 offensive line, now, we didn't have Judkins last week, but their PFF run blocking grades were in the 40s. DeJuan Jones has been abysmal. Ethan Pocic yesterday, they ran that screenplay.
Yeah.
And he didn't even get out to make a block.
Yeah.
And got his running back blasted.
Yeah. Almost
like
decapitated.
Right. Our offensive line is not good right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, is it bad? I'm not ready to say it's bad, but it's not good.
No, it's definitely
and you
a red
got a
flag.
40-year-old quarterback there who can't scramble.
It's definitely
you
a red
need
flag.
good line play.
Well, and that, you know, to add to that, Joe Flacco's thrown 80 passes in 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, obviously week 1 we had no running game.
Yeah.
And we were in the game, which, you know, he was forced to throw.
Midway into the third quarter, we were still in the game.
Yeah. Well, you mean
It was 20
yesterday?
to 10. Yeah, yesterday.
I'm talking for
week one.
We were,
we were in the whole game.
Yeah, he was in, you know, slinging it till the end. You know, so that's not a long-term recipe for this offense.
No.
You know, I don't think Stefanski's offense is a 40 pass per game, which means, you know, is there a bright spot coming? If, you know, you called it on the nose, which I don't often give you credit, but you said Judkins is going to get 10 touches. He got 10 touches. You know, and from the looks of it, you know, 6 yards a carry. You know, he had some targets in the passing game. You know, that could be the difference maker. Is it going to be a difference maker to, you know, make us a playoff caliber team? No, but it could be a difference maker on how this offense looks going forward. You know, if we can get, you know, 30 runs, 30 passes, as opposed to 40 and 20 or 45 and 20, right. You know,
right.
You know, that's the kind of ball control offense. And statistically, I think you have it up there, and I don't have this looking at it right now, but, you know, we outperformed 2 weeks in a row. Our offense has done better than our opponent, and our defense is stymied.
We have 61 more offensive yards than our opponent.
Yes.
And we're 0-2.
Yeah. And again, you know, all that matters, we can talk these statistics.
4 turnovers?
Yes.
And 1 turnover on down?
Yes.
So technically 5 turnovers, I think?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. And we've got, you know,
and we haven't gotten the takeaway.
There are a myriad of blunders in 2 weeks, you know, but at the end of the day, all that matters is that we're 0-2. We're not 1-1. We're not 2-0.
Yeah.
We're 0-2.
It's a team game.
And I will stand on the fact that the way this team is built now, we can't afford for any of the phases of the game to be off the way that they've been off.
No.
You know, so, you know, special teams 2 weeks in a row has put us, you know, one week, you know, and again, the blame can't solely go on them. The offense wasn't putting enough points on the board against a crappy Cincinnati defense.
Mm-hmm.
But he missed kicks, and then we had punts blocked and returns, and a return man hurt. And it's, you know, special teams cannot be an Achilles heel for this team. Yeah. You know, this team needs all the help. Everybody's got to show up for this team to be effective. And we've got, you know, and I think, I don't know if it's the next slide or not, but the schedule is not favorable.
Yeah.
You know, we're not playing.
That's coming up. It's
Yeah.
later, but yeah, we'll
Okay.
talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's not. But to wrap up my, I don't know if you want to touch on anything else. My offensive is, I don't know what the answer is. The only answer I can come up with that's viable is Stefanski has to put a better offensive game plan on the field. Find ways to get guys open. Find ways to get guys the ball. You know, you've got a speedster in Isaiah Bond. Find ways to get him. You know, again, go to Kansas City. They had a guy last year. He got hurt this year. Xavier Worthy, fast guy. They found ways. Just put the ball in his hands. See if he can do something.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a monster in Njoku. Get him the ball and just let him run because he always carries guys with him. You know, scheme different ways to get Fannin involved, not just, you know, as an outlet guy. You know, use Dylan Sampson. I mean, was it the touchdown pass where they had him split out wide?
Yeah.
You know, more of that.
Yeah.
Mix things up, change things up, run guys open, do crossing routes and drag routes.
Yeah.
You know, everything seems to be you're over here, you run around, see if somebody gets open.
Well, and that's you know, when we get to the defensive side of the ball, you know, one of my observations is, you know, our letdowns on third down, man-to-man coverage is those friggin' drag routes to the sticks.
Yeah.
You know, they'll put
And our guys are always short of the sticks.
They motion the matchup they want, and then they drag that guy across the field, and the safety or the linebacker or whoever the coverage man is a step behind.
Yeah.
And, you know, why are we not doing that? You know, why are we not utilizing, you know, plays like that? It doesn't seem like we are anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure maybe
But
I'm missing something. But
I don't
man,
know if you've ever watched the All 22. That gives you, you know, because on TV you don't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
But again, our defense was really good. Gave up a few plays here and there. They're always open in critical situations.
Yeah.
Now, they have Lamar who can scramble and extend plays, and some of them were the result of that, so I get it, but still. Okay. So, any last things on offense before we flip over?
No, I think that's good. I think we touched on
and I don't know if you agree. I gave it a D- strictly because I love Fannin, and I really liked what I saw from Judkins.
Yeah.
Without those two, I probably would have given them an F.
Well, you know, I think, again, what we need to be able to expect and what we should expect is competitive offensive play.
Yeah.
And 16, 17 points a week against the caliber of our opponents. It's going to be a long year.
Yeah.
That's
we'll
if
be
that's what we can expect.
1-5 or 0-6 after 6 weeks.
If this doesn't improve dramatically and real quick.
Good. Well, let's flip to the defense. A little better to talk about. So, I put again, gave it a B+. Had it not been for the guy in the picture, it probably would have been more in the A range.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, Cam Mitchell was the one sore spot. But to speak, first of all, our defensive line, I know where you're going to go with this. I'm giving the guy his props. Mason Graham looks legit. Now, he started the game, big plays, flying, you know, making tackles, you know, on the sideline, tracking plays down, and then you didn't hear his name called. He ended up, we'll go through the rookie report, but he ended up with 5 tackles, I believe. Good game. I'm sure he'll grade out well in PFF. You know, clogged up the middle. I like him. I do. But I texted you guys earlier. In recent memory, and I'm going by kind of new NFL, the way the NFL works, because it's more of a pass heavy. How many defensive tackles have really impacted winning and losing? I could name one. Aaron Donald. Is there anybody else as a D tackle?
No, and I think that's, you know, my response to that was, you know, I agree. You know, and maybe he will develop into that, or maybe he won't. But that position is an important cog in the wheel. You know, if we go into games knowing that our opponent is not going to be able to run the ball effectively, then it makes everything. It should make everything easier. The focal point. We don't have to put 8 guys in the box.
Except Kansas City has gone to how many Super Bowls, and has he ever had a really good running game since Kareem Hunt's first year?
Well, they may do, and again, we're
No.
playing from a different perspective, without a number one quarterback. We're playing with,
That's true.
rehashed,
We don't have a number one and number two or a number three quarterback.
no.
We're operating more as a, leftovers in the league.
Yeah, and I love Joe Flacco. I do. Big supporter.
Yes.
Love Joe Flacco, but he needs help. He's not going to be the guy that's going to say, you know what, guys, jump on the back. I'm going to carry us. Like we've seen,
Like
Super
he's
Bowl
done in
winning-
the past.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. He needs help. He needs guys got to make the easy catches.
Yeah.
Running backs have to be able to carry the weight. The offensive line can't have letdowns. And right now that's just not happening. And he's putting up, statistically speaking, he's putting up numbers that we should be able to say, okay, yeah, he's throwing for 200, 300 yards, somewhere in between there every game.
He's still throwing for more yards every game than Deshaun did in virtually any game.
Yes, yeah.
So
There
is that.
But he's going to need it for that to be effective. And I know we're talking about defense now,
Yeah.
but for that to be effective, he needs help.
Yeah.
And he's not getting it.
And speaking of help, defense can help.
Yes.
So let's get back to defense.
Awesome. Yes. Defensive line has been incredibly dominant.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with Mason Graham, and I don't think this is the week to do the comparison, but I think after 5 or 6 weeks, we should really look at how Travis Hunter, I know we were all Travis Hunter fans, and they're utilizing him on both sides of the ball. But, you pointed out, earlier, either yesterday or today, that something's awry in Jacksonville as well, but I don't think this is the week. I don't think after 2 weeks it's fair to put any kind of comparison on who's winners and losers in that trade deal right now.
And I'm not sure that will be fully known until we draft next
Sure, yeah.
year. So
Well, and at this pace,
we'll get the number one and number two pick.
yeah, we're gonna have
We'll have 2 high picks.
2 high picks.
So-
Yeah, it's looking very good for us right now in that regard, which is not the regard that I want to be focusing on. I still, naively maybe, or eternal optimist, am still believing that this season can be fun to watch and that there can be some competitiveness. It's the NFL. A lot can happen. Nobody would have thought that Joe Burrow was going to go down in week 2 and be out for 3 or 4 months. So,
True.
a lot can happen.
Injuries play a big part.
Yeah.
They
So,
do.
you can maybe talk a little bit about the secondary.
Well, the one thing before I want to move on to the D line, but the one thing I didn't want to not mention, number one, we still don't have Mike Hall. So hopefully he's even a bigger help, especially in the pass rush when we get him. But secondly, the guy that I think now, one thing I've always griped about is every year I feel like we have guys and we're like, he's what we expected or he's less than expected. The guy, now it's only been 2 games, that, we kind of talked about who was really going to man the other side opposite Miles. You had Alex Wright, we had OO for a while, Isaiah McGuire, all these guys that were signing, the new guy we got, JTS or JRS, whatever. Isaiah McGuire has looked fantastic so far. Again, don't know what he graded out. I don't even know what he graded out last week. I didn't even look at him. But every time there's pressure, every time there's plays in the backfield, he is there. And hopefully he can keep it up. But, you add a Michael Hall with him and Miles, and you got a really, really strong pass rush.
Yeah.
Which will only make Miles more effective.
Right.
So now, my other gripe with Miles is I feel like both games he's had this insanely dominant series, and then it's average the rest of the game. He'll make a play here and there, but you just don't feel, again, without having watched a replay and focus specifically on him, you don't feel like he's making that impact on a consistent basis outside of that one drive in each game. So hopefully, again, I'm wrong, but hopefully he can pick it up. Now, inconsistent secondary, I think Denzel, and props to Greg Newsome, I think he's been fantastic in 2 games. You're talking about playing against 2 elite quarterbacks with elite receivers. Zay Flowers. You can say what you want about DeAndre Hopkins. The guy's a stud at 33. Okay, that touchdown catch he had, Greg Newsome, you can't play coverage any better than that.
Right.
There's maybe 3 guys, probably 5 max in the entire NFL who could even try to make that catch.
Yeah.
Him being one of them.
Yeah.
I don't blame Newsome at all.
Yeah.
You can't play coverage
It's a
better
great
than
play.
that. He had a couple knocked away passes. His coverage was good. Denzel, where we tend to have the breakdown is at nickel, Cam Mitchell in the photograph. And I thought Delpit was inconsistent. There were some plays in terms of, second line plays with tight ends, even the one, I think Mark Andrews even dropped it though, where it just felt like he was a step behind. Now, he made some other good plays, but he's a guy that he is our safety.
Yeah.
We don't have him and Juan Thornhill, both bona fide safeties.
Yeah.
We got him and guys hoping.
Ronnie Hickman.
Yeah.
Who's,
Hoping to play.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But, that's for me where the inconsistency was. Ronnie Hickman, I thought overall was good. There was one play where he got burnt. But again, out of a whole game, if there's one play sticks out, you got burnt. I can live with that. But Cam Mitchell got beat a number of times. And Delpit, I thought, just at inconvenient times was out of position or step behind.
And this is maybe just something to pay attention to as we go forward. But when you look at tackles as a stat, if there's a huge disparity, your linebackers they're in the mix. They're the ones that sit back and they're seeing the flow, they're filling the holes. They're going to have more tackles, so
right.
That's expected. But there's not, when you look at these 2 games, there's not this huge disparity from our linebackers to our defensive line. Schwessinger and Devin Bush, I think, are in the teens, 15, 13 tackles. Myles Garrett, 10. Mason Graham, 7 or 8.
He had 5. He had this game. He had 5, and Schwessinger had 5.
Yeah, so it's not this huge disparity, and you're not. Another problem in years past when our one of our leading tacklers is our free safety.
Yeah.
Or our cornerbacks are leading us in tackles.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That's a big issue.
So the fact that of our top 4 of our top 5 tacklers so far in 2 weeks, our interior linebackers and our defensive line, that's a big statement.
That's encouraging.
And it's shown in the statistics, and the big storyline was what did I know in fantasy you have Derrick Henry. He had 170 yards week 1.
Yeah, he had 2.5 points yesterday.
Yeah, he had 24 yards.
Killed me
on 11 carries.
I still got a chance to win, but he killed me.
And Lamar's legs, not Lamar as a player, but Lamar's legs were a non-factor.
Yeah. Except for the one scramble on 3rd down that he threw, he really was a non-factor.
Yeah, he was fairly contained, in that regard, because we've witnessed games where, he's just absolutely stymied us. Scrambled for 100+ yards.
Yeah. We got to know where they can track him down.
Yeah, it just made us look foolish, and that wasn't the case. Now, again, I would rather lose a close game and have him at 100 yards rushing than lose 41-17 and our last touchdown in trash time. But
I would always rather him have 100 yards rushing.
Yeah,
because I need the fantasy points.
Yes, I understand. But statistically speaking, there are some very encouraging signs. We've played 2 very good offenses, and our defense yardage per game is number 1 in the league.
Well, if you look at that last stat, last bullet point I have, they had 242 yards, but 21 of those came with just 32 yards of offense.
Yes.
You had the fumble, you had the interception that was returned,
Yep.
and then you had the punt return.
The block punt.
Yeah,
Or-
the return
Yeah.
when he returned it down. Those 3 scores came with 32 yards of offense.
Yeah.
Outside of that, our defense gave up 20 points, but again, 3 of that came when it ended up as a touchdown. I'm trying to remember that when they had it first and goal at the half-yard line,
Mm-hmm.
and then we stopped them. Did they end up getting a field goal or a touchdown?
Don't
I'm
remember.
trying to remember that now.
Yeah.
I know there's one time we made a goal line type stand, but how many times can you put your defense in that situation? And eventually something's got to give.
Right. Well, and that's, I
but-
think Miles's point, was that the defense has to be better. They expect, I think they go in with the mindset that they're going to be put in some tough positions, and just because the offense had a TO and put them, in a bad spot doesn't mean that we're giving up 7 points every time. And we have to have that mindset. And our defense, needs to go out there with that dog mentality that they're either going to get a TO and get us the ball back, or they're going to hold them to a field goal. And I think that was frustrating for, the leaders on that defense, that they were giving up 7 as opposed to 3 or getting the ball back.
But again, some of those, kudos to the offense for making a good play.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one touchdown was busted, but really the other 2 touchdown passes were, the one was Hopkins, and I can't remember who, 2 of them were Wallace, but it was the it was a longer play where it was over the top, back corner of the end zone. It was a good play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it not much you can do about it. I don't think it was bad defense. But how many teams give up 41 points with 240 yards of offense?
Yeah.
To me, our defense is back to 2 years ago right now. And if we can add in Mike Hall, it's only going to get better. Now, the side note I just thought about is, does that mean we're better without Martin Emerson? And do we move on from him?
Oh, I don't know. He's still young. I mean, last year, what was his rookie year, right?
No.
Two
He played
years.
2 years ago. He was good 2 years ago, but he was bad last year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I think he's still young, still on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
But had I told you Sunday before the game started that Derrick Henry was going to have 23 yards rushing, Lamar Jackson was going to have 13 yards. Yeah, you would have changed your lineup.
Yeah.
But that their offense as a whole was going to be worth 260 yards or something like that.
242 yards total.
Yeah. Okay. So had I told you that, and then asked you to reevaluate the score, you would not have had them win 41-17.
No.
I think.
No.
And
But that's where I don't think our defense at fault.
yeah. Yeah.
I think it's offense and special teams.
But that's 2 weeks in a row.
But at what point as a defensive unit, do you just roll your eyes and get tired of the same old, same old?
Well,
And
hopefully
now all of
it's
a
not
sudden-
after 2 weeks.
But it's not. It's
Yeah.
after 10 weeks.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
This is after 10 weeks.
But see, here's
They haven't scored 20 points since Jerry Jeudy against Denver.
yeah.
That was the last time we scored 20 points, when he went off because he was playing his former team.
I was at Kalahari. I remember that.
That was December of last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our offense stinks. And our defense, most of those guys were here last year.
Yeah.
So this is not just a 2-game sample size. This is 10 games in a row of us having to try to hold people to 10, 12 points just to get a win, when the offense is turning the ball over multiple times. Like, that wears on you.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not saying it should. Miles is making $40 million to make a play regardless of the score.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but we're all human,
Mhm.
and there's no way that doesn't impact your mindset when you go into the game.
Yes.
You going to bed? Oh,
I just
No.
came to give you a hug.
say hi.
Hi.
Love you, bud.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So I just, I hope I'm wrong, but to me, unless the offense finds a rhythm, the defense will continue to be good, but will get tougher and tougher to be elite from game to game.
Yeah. It's what we're witnessing for our defense is not sustainable without some kind of uptick from the offense and no more special teams, debacles. Speaking of,
I'll flip over to there now, but
yeah,
you can finish.
No, it's just it's not going to. It's a recipe for a long year as a team and as a fan base. Unfortunately, all of us listening, all you people listening, we're shockingly we're used to this. It's a sad
That's
testament.
the problem. We become numb over 40 years. We become numb to it.
It's sad to say, but there has to be. We're looking for glimmers of hope. Sifting through manure. Looking for the glitter. That your dog ate. It's absolute. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, Judkins, had 10 carries for 61 yards. That's got to be a silver lining. Or, it's we need
for 40
to expect,
years. That's all we've had.
Yeah, I think the message has been clear. That we're expecting more, and I sincerely think that ownership and management, I think they understand that, because part of the complaints prior, and I know this isn't on the slide, but one of the complaints was just the fact that we were on the recycle every 2 or 3 years of everybody. It was a new head coach. It was a new offensive coordinator. It was a new quarterback, new defensive coordinator, and that didn't work for 2 years.
It's time to do it again.
Yeah, it may be, but I think what they've shown us over the past 4 or 5 years is that
they don't learn from their mistakes.
They were committed to giving a regime an opportunity, and so my hope is that they can turn it around here before we go into next year with 2 draft picks and we decide to blow the whole thing up again, and
or
2 first
we
round
make
picks,
the change now and let a competent front office make those picks.
Okay, and I know this is off script.
Well, that's the next topic.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
It's coming up.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, who do you find mid-season?
I didn't say mid-season.
You said now. You said now. If they're, how long do you let it go? I think they're commit. I believe Haslam is committed to AB and Stefanski. So I don't think they're going anywhere. But if they were going to make a change right now, what do you get? You're going to end up what? You're going to end up promoting an assistant coach up, somebody that's already in the regime as an assistant.
No, here's what you do.
Manager.
Here's what you do. Fire Stefanski. Hey, Joe, we're running with the rookies to see what we got. We need you to coach the team.
Joe Flacco, player / coach.
Yeah.
Backup quarterback / coach. Yeah, / Yeah.
Hasn't been done. Be a first.
Yeah.
All right, on to special teams real quick. Let's talk about that debacle because
it's an F. It's an F all the way around.
Yeah.
It's just an F.
Like you talked about, the blocked punt. Almost got our best player hurt. Well, did get him hurt, but he still played. And, I love Miles, but can't compare to Bojorquez's leg. Look at that. It's a tree trunk.
It's a beautiful leg.
Yeah. No, obviously he's not our most talented player, but it's hard not to like the guy because he's the only thing we got that you can actually see from every time he's out there. It seems like he flips the field and at least gives us a chance. Unfortunately, we need him all too often. Now he's hurt. DeAndre Carter, what is it with us in return men? And because who was the guy we signed for 2 years? He got hurt before the season.
Never played a game.
Never played a game. Who is it? Nyheim Hines that we signed then. and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Now DeAndre Carter, second game, he gets hurt. And then Isaiah Bond looked like he wanted nothing to do with returning anything.
Nah. He got away from one he should have returned. I mean, it was like a 20-yard roll or something.
Yeah. And then we gave up the big return that set up a score. Hey, but Schmidt made his field goal, his extra points. He's back, baby.
Okay. Okay.
Try to find the lone bright spot.
Yeah.
But
again, sifting through the manure,
But again, here's a guy. So I talked about Stefanski coming in. Was supposed to be this QB whisperer, this offensive genius. Our offense at best has been middle of the pack. It's never been top of the pack. More often been bottom of the pack. Bubba came in and was supposed to be like this. There's a Prefer that was before. Replace Prefer, be this savant in special teams, former player.
Butt cheeks.
Yeah,
he's
done nothing. Done nothing.
Again, we can ill afford to have that phase of the game be as bad as it's been and be competitive.
What made, and I know football's different now, but what made the Jim Tressel era of Ohio State football so effective?
Well, it must be special teams.
He always had a kicker who never missed. And he always played field position because he would punt, pin people back, let the defense do their job, get the ball back, have a short field, make a field goal, take whatever points that was always given. Who was it? Mike Nugent.
Mike Nugent. Yeah. Where's he at right now? Is he available?
Oh, sign him.
Yeah.
I'll take him.
Jeez.
I'll take him. Pull him out of retirement. But if your offense isn't good, then you've got to have a special teams to play the field position game and to make field goals and extra points to keep the other team from flipping the field. We don't have any of that right now. As bad as our special teams has been, I'm not sure through 2 games it's ever looked worse and more discombobulated than it does this year. So for 2 weeks in a row, our special team gets an F.
Consistency. Consistency. That's what we're looking for.
We're going for the number 1 pick. And hoping Jacksonville gets a number 2. So that brings up the next question. Time for change? Quarterbacks, time to make a change?
My opinion is no. And I think Stefanski came out and already said no at this point.
He did, but from a fan's perspective.
My opinion is no. Again, we're in the middle of the gauntlet, arguably one of, if not the toughest stretch of games in the NFL schedule-wise. Not sure why the NFL hates us so much and would give us that schedule.
But after a 3-14 season, take the toughest first 6 games.
Yeah, but I think we need the continued steady hand of Joe Flacco right now. Again, I maybe it's slipping. My delusional state of optimism might be waning, but I still believe that he gives us number 1 the best chance to win, and I think I think we would do more damage putting one of the rookies in right now than we would. Again, everybody maybe is asking for or hoping for. Let's see what the rookies can do. You could do a lot of damage. There's a reason why 31 teams passed for 2+ rounds on Dylan Gabriel, before we picked him up. And there's a reason 31 other teams passed for 5 rounds before Shedeur Sanders came off the board. They're not NFL ready right now. And we're seeing Cam Ward was the standalone. There's the guy that should be ready week 1, most NFL ready, hands down. And he is on the struggle bus. He's had some
decent plays.
He's had some flashes, but
nothing consistent.
Right.
But I would also argue that his receiving core is not a whole lot better than ours.
Right. And Jackson Dart not getting playing time. Again, I think
but Russell
the rest of
throw for 400 yards.
1 week, then the other week,
he was awful the week before.
Yeah, it's like everybody in New York was crying, let's get Jackson Dart after week 1, and then my point is, I think we could do more harm than good. And I do believe we need to see what we have in these rookies, because we're going into a very important draft next year with 2 first-round draft picks, and we're either going to, put, key pieces around somebody that we're building, or we're going to get our guy.
Yeah.
And
I agree, but I don't know that you wait much longer. Because we got the upcoming schedule, but we've got a gauntlet still coming up with maybe Minnesota, the one potential. And the one thing I think that could inject some life, throwing a rookie quarterback out there just as a change of pace that might light a spark under people. Offensive line. Oh my gosh, I got a rookie. I got to protect. I don't know. I'm just trying to find some glimmer of hope because I'm a Browns fan. But I don't think, because of the second one on here, that you make the change. Because I think if you put Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur out there right now with this offensive line, they will get absolutely obliterated.
You're not doing yourself any favors.
And I mean obliterated, not just bad stats. I mean physically hurt. Because they're going to get... there was one play yesterday where, forget who, Baltimore, he came from the outside. He was on coverage on a receiver, snapped the ball, blitz from the blind side, and just... Flacco never saw him, got rid of the ball. That's a rookie. He's probably getting lit up.
Yeah.
Holding that ball that extra second, that kind of thing. That internal clock isn't quite what Joe's is. I just think that's a recipe for disaster. What about the offensive line? You just move to guys. Zach Zinter was a healthy scratch. I'm not even sure who you have to go to, but do you put Luke Whippler in?
The fact that Zach Zinter was a healthy scratch is a red flag.
Very big, yeah.
So, he was third round draft pick. This is his second full season. The expectations should be, again, he's not Wyatt Teller, he's not Joel Bitonio.
But he was brought in to be a replacement.
Right. Not getting any burn.
No, it was a healthy scratch. So has no injury, and he wasn't even on the active roster.
Right. Well, and again, our weakness is at tackle, so, that part isn't as surprising, but
Juwan Jones has been awful.
Yeah. And that KT Levison, he was getting blown up and beat. It's just, it's not good, but, if our starters aren't good, our backups, unless they see something in practice where they see a guy that's making strides, then you make the change. But, that makes me nervous. The fact that we were supposed to have, healthy, we were supposed to have a really good offensive line. We were all pumped about Juwan Jones moving to left tackle. It's been a struggle. And, we were hoping to have Conklin healthy. Well, we don't even know what that looks like. Conklin hasn't been healthy, in 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
At least not since he's been to Cleveland.
Yeah. He had a fairly healthy year last year. That's
what'd that get us? 3-14.
3-14.
So,
No. So I would be okay making the move for Luke Whippler just to see, because I think he's got some talent. He's a Buckeye. I'm a little biased. But that journeyman tackle, is that KT or was there another one?
I think there's another one on the roster. Let me look here.
I can't remember. But anyway, try something. Like right now, I don't even think Bitonio and Teller look all that good, although better. But if you put somebody around them that maybe, hey, here's your chance, and maybe they're a little more motivated to produce, who knows? Competition's healthy. You kind of hold people accountable, put guys out there. Maybe you find, you find a diamond in the rough, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right.
That Cornelius Lucas.
That's
the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. Try him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to lump these for the sake of time. I'm going to lump these next two together: coaching staff and front office. Now, I'm not necessarily saying now, but do you begin to have the conversation of moving on from them between now and next year?
Well, I think as a fan base, I think that's a a very good question to have. This is if we're going to do it, this is the year that we move on, because the team as a whole is going to be set up. I think that there are key pieces in place. We've extended contracts, and we've got some key people in place, and next year's draft is set up for an incoming regime to really make it their own, let's say. Now, personally, I hope that doesn't happen, only because I'm just so against these. It just seems like we're more apt to pick the wrong head coach, wrong offensive coordinator, and ruin a whole new cycle than we are keeping what we have. It's almost like the devil you know or the devil you don't, and I know we're not all fans of Kevin Stefanski's offense or AB's drafting, and the history is there. The history speaks for itself. So there's no reason for us to be completely jumping up and down saying these are our guys, but we've certainly over the last 25 years witnessed way worse than what we've got over the last 5. And that doesn't make the last 5 easy or what we should expect or what we should demand as fans. But we've had way worse.
See, but that's where I think you do have to make a change. Because when they came, okay, we were heading into the primes or guys in their primes. Okay. You had a rookie QB in Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall pick. You had Nick Chubb. You had Myles Garrett. You had Denzel Ward. You had Jarvis Landry. You traded for Odell Beckham Jr. You had the best offensive line in the NFL. Like, you had a stud roster. You have 1 playoff win, of which the head coach wasn't even a part of. And you now have, at best, the 30th or 31st best roster in the NFL. So you wasted the prime of all those great players. You gave away a franchise quarterback who's now doing really well in Tampa Bay. Now, maybe he doesn't turn into that if he doesn't go through the adversity. I give you that. And now you're looking at a full rebuild. So you had those guys. They had their chance. And now you're looking at a rebuild. It's time for somebody else to take over and oversee that rebuild because they've already proven they can't.
And to that point, I don't completely disagree. But the fear as a fan of the Cleveland Browns specifically, Cleveland sports maybe in general, but the Cleveland Browns specifically, is that, man, have we had some friggin' doozies that we brought in. Our history tells us that, yeah, this guy might not be a Super Bowl winning head coach, and that guy may not be a Super Bowl GM.
But he's not even a playoff winning head coach.
Okay, fair. But we've been to the playoffs 2 times in 5 years, and the prior 20 years, we were in the playoffs 2 years. 2013, I think, and maybe 2002. I don't remember. But
again, I say, look at those rosters. How many of the people on those rosters were because of Stefanski and AB versus the rollover he received from Dorsey?
Well, okay, 2020, there's an argument there. 2020, we made the playoffs. 2023, we made the most. Made the most with nothing. We had, and again, starting the season with a really strong roster in 2023, but we were riddled with injuries.
Yeah,
our offensive line was riddled with injuries.
Nick Chubb got hurt.
Mm-hmm. We went through 5 quarterbacks. Joe Flacco came in with 5 games left in the season and led us to the playoffs. Yeah. Does Stefanski get any credit for that? Maybe.
No.
Not in your eyes. In my
that's
eyes,
Joe Flacco getting off the couch and saying, "I'm going to be Superman for 5 games."
Yeah. Well, and maybe you're right. I'm just telling you, if they're going to do it, this would be the year to make the change going into next year with what is here and under contract going forward, the staple pieces, and the the potential draft of next year.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at this point, I'm not in favor of that personally. I know you probably are at this point.
I'm ready. Bring it on.
Yeah. You know, because I just think that's, you know.
To me, it's just, and then we'll move on. It's just, you've had 6, 7 years, whatever. Can't remember.
5.
Well, this is your
This
6.
is your 5.
This is your 5?
This is your
Okay.
5. Yeah.
So you'll have 5 total years. You know what you have in them. You haven't seen improvement. You haven't seen growth. You haven't seen development of players. You haven't seen, this draft is going to turn out to be AB's best. I'll give him that.
Hopefully.
Well, it's definitely leaning that way.
Yeah.
But I can show you, for the 4 good players that he drafted, I can show you 14 that were complete busts.
Yeah.
More than that.
And this isn't an excuse. This isn't an excuse for Stefanski, but he had Baker Mayfield healthy. 2020 was a good year. 2021 he gets hurt. Plays hurt. He could be blamed. They could be blamed. He played hurt. Then the whole him not accepting a contract and them going to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson coming in here and being suspended for 11 games and then getting hurt and then getting hurt and then getting hurt. And again, this is, I'm not really asking, but there might be an argument that Stefanski hasn't been dealt a fair hand and made the most of bad situations.
So that it would be cause for AB. But again, I go back to, a good coach gets the most out of every player. Name me 3 players in their time here that you're like, Stefanski got the most out of that guy.
I mean, I could probably do that. I mean, I'd take some time, but right off the top of my head, I think he has gotten the most out of David Njoku. I think that guy has performed and gone from, Stonehands Njoku to a top 10, and depending on how you rate him, maybe even higher than that, tight end in the NFL. That's one right off the top of my head. Probably have to do some thinking. Rest. So,
but the fact that you have to think that hard.
Yeah. So that, but no. Again, I understand. I'm just saying there could be the argument that Stefanski's been dealt a rough hand and still made the playoffs 2 out of 5 years.
And I know your first response. Okay, I get it. Who on earth did Andy Reid have last year to take the team to the Super Bowl? They had no running game. They had no receivers. Their top 2 or 3 receivers got hurt. Travis Kelce is getting older. Their offensive line was inexperienced. They had Chris Jones on defense. And they went to the Super Bowl. Now, yes, I know they have Patrick Mahomes.
But they also played 3 phases of most football games.
Which is coaching.
Okay. I mean, yes, you're right. You're right. And the axe falls on the head coach.
Yes.
So but Bubba Ventrone has to be held accountable.
Correct.
He was bad
He's
last year.
part of the coaching staff. Change.
I think you make a change on him. If you're going to make a change, that's the change. And I think you make that. I don't think you wait on that. There's no need to wait.
No, because what is he doing right now?
It's
kind of like the offensive line coach last year. We didn't even notice he was gone.
Yeah, that was, and does that have something to do with it? Now we're in our second year removed from a Hall of Fame offensive line coach that went to be with his son. Name's escaping me, but
Bill.
Yeah, he that last year our offensive line was horrendous. This year it's not exactly jumping off the page that we're doing things So I don't know if that's another issue too. We need to maybe take keep an eye on that too. Special teams.
I think you get rid of him
coaching.
now, and nobody would even notice.
Ventrone?
Hmm?
Yeah, well, I think we would notice. It can't be any worse.
It can't be any worse. It's
It
true.
really cannot
It would
be any
instantly
worse.
get better. Yeah. True. All right, let's move on real quick because we're running short on time
Yep.
here. Just thoughts on upcoming schedule.
Packers game at home. The ladies are going. My wife, my
Oh,
daughter,
Nice.
Caitlin. I think Callie's going too. So
Maybe they'll bring a little lady luck.
Yeah, so Lady Luck will be. So they're going up to the Packers game. Again, Packers are starting off really strong. So it's going to be a test, and I'm just going to say, it's going to be a debacle if our offense can only put up 16 or 17 points. It's going to be a debacle if our special teams is consistent for a third week in a row and has some kind of failing grade somewhere along the process. And it's going to be a failing grade if our defense, put in bad situations, only gives up 7 points every time that they're put in a bad situation. So there's got to be some things that happen, and you've got to be able to steal games that statistically and on paper you're not supposed to win. This needs to be one of those games. They've got to. There needs to be a gut check. They got their butts handed to them in Baltimore, and I think somebody needs to step up and get this team revved up. Stefanski's not that vocal guy, so somebody on the team needs to step up and say, "Hey,
That's a problem. I'm
gut
not sure
check.
they have a vocal leader
We need to find the dogs."
because Miles is your leader and he's not a vocal leader.
Yeah, we need to find the dogs.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to step up and say, this is the week where we're going to turn. We're going to give the fans what they want. It's a home game. It's going to be a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Cleveland, Ohio, and I think that's what needs to happen for us to steal one. It gets ugly after that. We go play Detroit. Detroit, terrible week one. A complete
50
flip
points.
around, 50 points in week two. And then after that it's Minnesota and then Pittsburgh. So it's nothing easy coming up, but we need to start playing as a team, putting all three phases together to be competitive. And again, it's got to be more than 16 or 17. Would you say 10 games in a row under 20?
Yeah, I think so. 9 or
that,
10.
That has to change this week.
Yeah. And I don't know that it does. I really don't. I think the Packers and Lions are, I think both those games, I think you keep Joe in there and say, see if you can find a rhythm. I'm not sure he can, unless Stefanski comes up with a better game plan. I think the Vikings, that's the game in London.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a neutral home game.
Yeah.
But I think that's our first chance.
McCarthy's out. I don't know how long he's out, but
if we go in there 0-4, I think they start a rookie. I think that's a game
in London.
I think that's a game they throw Dylan in, then bring him back for the Steelers, and Joe's done. If we can steal one of those two, I think you keep Joe in at the Vikings to see if you can get a couple games before Pittsburgh. A couple game win streak, get to 500. But after that, the schedule obviously not quite as tough. But I think that if we go into the beyond part and we're 1-5 or 0-6, I think it's absolutely rookies. Even if we have into that, I think you turn it over to the rookies and you let both of them play and see what you have to know what you have moving forward for the next year's draft. So I don't think it's these next 2 weeks. I'm not sure there's a chance we can steal one. Barring just fluke plays or weird occurrences, things that have happened in our games, I just don't see it happening. So I want to end the Browns on a good note, so let's talk briefly just about rookies. I thought the rookies overall, I think they're playing fantastic. To me, Judkins showed what he can be. He had one practice under his belt. It's the best game I think we've seen from a running back in 2 years since Chubb was healthy before Pittsburgh the year before. In terms of just complete game and what you saw from him and hitting holes and moves and breaking tackles. Sampson, he is what he is. He's a guy who I think is going to give you a couple runs a game, mostly out of the backfield. He does have to get a whole lot better in pass block.
Mhm.
He got blown up a couple times, so that's a concern. Fannin, I love him, my favorite. Going to take a lot for me to change my mind on that one. Gabriel, again, came in garbage time, backups, but he did what he was asked to do. Even on the touchdown pass, like he was staring at the guy, Dylan Sampson, the whole route. That kind of stuff concerns me a little bit, but he did what he was supposed to do in that situation. So, I can't fault him for that. Schlesinger, I don't think was as good, but he's still a guy with the green dot as a rookie linebacker, with a running game that's one of the best in the NFL, and held Henry to 2.5 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So, and
I
Graham,
think Devin
again,
Bush is good for him.
I do too. I agree. I agree.
I think they complement each other.
agree.
I think they feed off each other.
I think Devin Bush is playing really well.
He is. He's
But-
playing really well.
And Graham, I think, is better than I expected, and I hope that continues. And Bond showed a little bit of speed. A couple touches he got, you could see his speed and maybe where we want to use him more. I mean, but you're talking 7 rookies there, that all had good play.
Yeah.
I give him an A+. What more can you ask out of a rookie class? I'm excited about him.
Well, this is the first year that I can ever remember where we will have been able to have had a rookie. Well, maybe Baker's first year.
Yeah.
That was a good draft too.
Yeah.
But this is the first year in a long time where we've been able to say, okay, here's a rookie report and it's got substance. It's got actual all 4 quarters game time for a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
They, so that's pretty cool. And that's, again, we're looking for glitter in the manure pile. There's some glitter.
There's 7 specks of glitter.
Specks of glitter in the manure pile. So that's good. I like that.
No, in obviously 2 tough games. As the schedule eases up a little bit, I think you'll see even more production out of them. But they've all stepped up, and they've all met the challenge head on. Again, Gabriel's sample size is very small, but he did what was asked of him.
Yeah.
And, so I think.
I don't think I'm ready to coronate him by
No,
any
no,
stretch.
No,
And again,
no. You know me. I'm not a fan. I would rather see Shedeur.
Yeah.
But Judkins, Sampson, Fannin, Schlesinger, Graham, I think are all have the potential to be studs. Bond, I like in the limited touches he's gotten. I'd like what I see.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see as he develops.
Yeah.
Real quick, touch on the Buckeyes game against OU. You mentioned at the beginning, it wasn't what I thought it would be. And I put at the bottom, respect to Ohio University. They played well.
Yeah.
They had a good game plan. They did not have an answer for Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate. No, not many teams do. But they played well. They had a game plan. Their coach came in with a good, even offensively, they had some sustained drives. They had the one big play, but they had some sustained drives where they took up. It wasn't 3 and out. I thought they played really well.
Mm-hmm.
I said it last week after the Grambling State game. I'll say it again. Bo Jackson. I want more Bo Jackson. I love the way that kid plays.
I think you're starting to see him maybe separate.
Yeah.
And I think that's early in the season. That's what this team is trying to find its identity. And some of these games, these early games before we get into the heat of the Big Ten schedule, is just that. We're trying to find out who's going to separate.
Yeah.
The touches might be equal between these couple running backs, and you start to see who's doing more with their opportunity. And Bo Jackson,
he's
separating.
He hits the holes hard.
Yeah.
He runs hard. He's got the speed. He reminds me of Judkins and
Travion
Henderson from last year.
Yeah.
Just the way he runs. The other 2 they seem more hesitant when they get the ball.
Yeah.
Bo's like, there's my hole. I'm going there.
North and south.
Try to catch me.
Yeah, he had a nice long run. I saw.
Yeah.
One highlight I caught was a real nice hit.
Yeah.
Up the gut. So.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, no.
I thought Sand struggled more than he should have. Accuracy was off a little bit. The week before, I complimented how it looked like he was hitting guys in stride. He had 2 interceptions. You know, and if he wasn't passing to Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Smith, it just was off. And I think they've got to find more out of the backfield. They got to find more out of their tight ends, you know, and he just doesn't seem to have the timing down. You know, again, he's young, he's still learning, but I wasn't as excited. Is not the word, but it just wasn't, that rhythm wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I need to, you know, against the better teams, no offense to OU, because obviously they played really well. But if you're throwing a couple picks against OU, what are you going to do against Penn State and Illinois and those teams? Like, it just concerns me a little bit. You know, I think it's there. Jeremiah Smith, best guy in college football. Caleb Downs, absolutely ridiculous on the defensive end. Our defense is incredible, you know, but Bo needs more touches. Sayin needs to find a better rhythm outside of Smith and Tate.
Yep.
But those are, you know, that's kind of my feedback from the game.
On board.
So,
I like it.
You know, this week they have Washington. I haven't even looked to see, I think, how Washington is. Generally, probably better than OU. So maybe ramp it up the difficulty up a little bit and see what happens. We talked a little earlier on the Guardians as well. They're putting themselves in a position. You know, again, I'm not as confident in who they are, because in these 10 games, you can see they've only given up 3 runs once. Every other game has been 0, 1, or 2 runs.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily sustainable. I'd love to think it is. Tate Smith has been closing out games well. Starting pitching has been phenomenal. But at some point, you've got to find bats. And at the bottom of this graphic here, outside of Ramirez, he leads them in batting average. He leads them in home runs, doubles, triples, stolen bases. Like, it just, if there's a statistical category, I think Quan has a couple more hits than him. But he leads in everything.
Yeah.
You've got to have other guys. And again, he leads them with 77 RBIs.
Right.
Like, that's not good.
No.
Generally, that's your 6th or 7th hitter has 77.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not your best hitter. So we're not scoring a lot of runs, but our pitching's been phenomenal. You know, they're still way back. They got a chance at the division I put in here, but if there's any hope, they got to win those 6 games against Detroit.
Right.
Like, I think they have 14 games left.
Yeah.
You know, they're still 2.5 back in the wild card with 6 against Detroit. Like, you've got to sweep Detroit.
But for the past 2 weeks, they've been very hot.
They've been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they've been very hot. So
Brian Rocchio's been really good. So guys have been stepping up. But I just don't know, for me, how sustainable it is to finish out the year and head into the playoffs. Maybe, but it's what we have with the payroll we have. The guys who are overachieving. Again, I go back to the Browns had one of the best rosters and underachieved. The Guardians always have one of the smallest payrolls and always overachieve. They find a way. Every year we write them off, or we're like, oh, they're not going to be any good. And every year we're like, by the end of the year, we're all buying, oh, maybe we got something. Hey.
Right. Yeah, here we are, September, and we're not out of the hunt for October. So it's it'll be interesting.
Hunt
these next
for
couple
red
weeks.
and blue October.
Red and blue October, yes. Red, white, and blue, or red, gray, and blue. I don't know
Yeah.
what they are. Red, gray,
Yeah.
and blue, maybe. Yeah. So there's
If you
hope.
remember that movie,
There's
The
hope.
Hunt for Red October.
I do remember.
Okay. So we'll see. We'll keep posted on the Guardians. But it's nice to have a little bit of hope in the midst of this rough Brown start, to have somebody, or a team to kind of go, maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
Maybe we do have an exciting October, and you can sell your Browns tickets. We can go see some Guardian playoff games.
There we go. I don't think anybody's buying Browns tickets right now. Ay.
Just the last few things to touch on before we wrap up. I wanted to bring up Hollywood Higgins. I don't know if anybody saw this, but I thought it was an awesome story. Saw his post on X talking about how, post-playing career, and obviously he was a fan favorite here in Cleveland. Roll out the red carpet, the connection he and Baker had. Wasn't like this exceptional receiver. He was the one that got the non-targeting call against Kansas City. but he was always a fan favorite. Anyway, he made a post that, you know, in his post-playing career, he felt like, you know, being a stay-at-home dad, what example was that setting for his kids, and, you know, that type of thing. And not that investing in your kids was not important, but, you know, in terms of, you know, being somebody that's impacting others and being there for others, what, you know, he could do. And here's a guy who probably made enough to retire on. He didn't make a ton, but probably made enough to retire, or, you know, not have to do a lot. And he went out and became a firefighter, and is now going to put his life on the line on a daily basis, you know, to try to rescue other people, to be there for other people, to run into fires, and as a way to, you know, in his words, he felt like it was what God called him to do, and what he felt led to do, not only for his kids but other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't often hear the good that players do. You hear the stories about, you know, the Judkinses and you know, those types of stories that are negative. And I think it's important to put out sometimes the good that players like Hollywood have, and their perspective on life and the positive influence they're doing even post-career.
Amen.
So I just want to make sure I put that out there. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
No, I saw the story and,
Yeah.
and you know, loved him as a player.
Yeah.
You know, you called it fan favorite, but, you know, he had a special connection with Baker.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
you know, it was fun to watch, and, you know, it's cool to see those guys diving back into their communities
Yeah.
and doing something,
Yeah.
you know, doing something positive. And it's, you know, there's certainly a long laundry list of guys who've left the NFL or the, you know, professional sports in general and done the wrong thing. It's cool to see somebody
Do the right thing.
do the right thing, dive back in, and wish them all the best.
Yeah.
So,
So, well, it's thank you, Hollywood, for what you did for the Browns, but now what you're doing for others out in the community, you know, as a firefighter. And to all the firefighters who, you know, and all first responders and police who put their life on the line daily to protect us and be there for us in times of need. We were going to talk a little bit about other stuff. We're kind of running short on time here. Fantasy football update for me. I may hold on. Going to be I was, word of warning, don't ever take my advice when it comes to fantasy football. I failed my daughter, I failed my son, and I failed my sister, who's getting destroyed by Jason this week. So,
you need advice, call me.
call Jason,
Yeah,
not
call
me.
me.
I was awful as my daughter standing back there looking at me like, what the heck?
Yeah.
She got destroyed this week too.
It was definitely
Taking my advice. So we'll keep you posted, but right now, Jason's team's looking good. Mine's not. And my two kids are, although my son won last week, barely, by less than a point, but not this week. And last thing there, it's just I'm a Borderlands fan. So I was
what is it? Borderlands?
Shut up.
What is this?
It's an amazing video game that just came out. If you're looking for something to play and you like just fantasy, fun, shoot 'em up, loot stuff, Gearbox Software, thanks for an amazing game so far. That's all we have for today. I don't know anything to add.
See you next week. Go Browns.
And hopefully we have a more positive report, even if it's not a win, come next Sunday, because this grading on the D's and the F's and the C's and is not fun. I'd rather give more A's and B's. But until next week, this is 3 and Out, signing off.